ಫ್ಲೈಯರ್ ಹಾಕ್ಬೇಕಂತ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಕನೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಲ್ಯಾಪ್ಟಾಪ್ಗೆ ಆಯ್ತು ಫ್ಲೈಯರ್
నువ్వే ఎదురు కూర్చుంటావా వీడియో తీస్తా నువ్వు
Kindly be seated. I request everybody to sit. Dr. Venu, please. The program will start in few minutes. I kindly request everybody to be seated and maintain the silence.
Oh, okay, this is just the morning thing.
Wow, you all are ready to get inspired, right? It's my favorite session of the day. Women empowerment, women in leadership. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm thrilled to welcome you all to today's panel discussion on women in leadership. Now it's time to shine a spotlight on the incredible women who are breaking barriers and leading the way in their fields. Today, we have the privilege of hearing from a distinguished panel of women leaders who will share their experiences, insights and perspectives on leadership, innovation and empowerment. They're just not accomplished leaders, but also trailblazers for paving the way for a brighter future. Let's celebrate their achievements, learn from their experiences and gain insights into effective leadership strategies that leave you all feeling empowered. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming our esteemed rock star panelists here, Sonia Pilia, our startup advisor, Ashmi Channarai Patna, VP of Salesforce, Ina Sarkar, CEO of Women's Now TV, Shruti Goli, she's my favorite. She's a co-founder and CPO of Trimato. So let's get ready for a conversation that will speak meaningful conversations today and to challenge the stereotypes and leave us feeling very empowered. Let's start with Sonia Pilia. Sonia Pilia runs dual leadership tracks in tech startups and gender equality activism. She is co-founder at the Monarch Naval startup, Road Navigator, and co-founder of a science-based nutraceutical startup called Blue Oak Nutraceuticals. She pitched judges and mentors founders at the Silicon Valley Alchemist Accelerator, is a founding LP at How Women Invest VC Fund, a non-profit leader, a board member at Maitri for over 30 years, and a TEDx speaker.
It does make me sound really amazing, doesn't it? It's not that great. Can you hear me in the back?
Yes, we can.
No, no, get it a bit close. Close it, close it. So, I'm here today as an example for you to say, you can be anything you want. I think the biggest problem women have, we as women have, is we are so tied towards what other people think of us. We are so tied by, can I do this? And this is particularly true of South Asian women. We are raised not to talk about ourselves. We are raised not to claim the kind of success we achieve. We are always supposed to be modest. I'm not saying that you should go out there and trump your own abilities, which probably you should anyways. But I think we cut ourselves short all the time. And then when you add in the fact that you're an immigrant, look at my hair, look at the color of my skin, I speak with an accent. How are people taking me? Do I have the confidence? And when I first moved here, I was always self-conscious. Am I saying the right thing? Am I using the right word? Is my pronunciation correct? I was so worried about what people were thinking of me that I didn't think about what I wanted to do, how I wanted to show up, how my abilities could be a part of a company's success. And what happens is that when you're always second guessing yourself, when you're always thinking, I'm not good enough, all these opportunities are constantly going by. And you're thinking, oh, maybe I get another degree. Maybe I get this training. Maybe I do this certification. Maybe somebody will see how good I am. But that's not how leadership works. That's not how you become a leader. So when I moved here first, the first thing in an immigrant's life is to get a job. You've got to support yourself, right? You've got to become financially stable. So, like everyone, I had some degrees. I had a degree in psychology and economics from India and English honors. And when I got here, the Silicon Valley was just beginning to explode. That's about 38 years ago. And I fell into a career. I wish I could say I was that smart that I figured out all of this stuff. When I look back and I think, oh my God, I'm such a fool. I would just sort of swim along with the flow. But none of you should do this. Really, truly, do not do this, what I did. So I became a technical writer by training. And I loved computers. I loved working in big companies, small companies. But then I started realizing that I hated big companies. So how do you get to a small company? How do you get to a startup? Sorry about that. Oh, can everyone hear me now? So I just flailed along, and one of the problems that most women have, which I realized in retrospect, is we don't have a mentor. Men have networks. Men get mentored by other men. They may not call it that. But women, first of all, we don't know how to ask for help. Second of all, we don't know who to ask for help. So I was going to do it all on my own, right? So I hated my career. I've been doing it for 18 years. And I thought one day, if one more day I have to go and write a software or a hardware manual, I'm going to actually gnaw my arm off. I cannot do it anymore. So I told my husband, and I quit my job. And I didn't know what to do. So 6 weeks later, I found another technical writing job. Okay, and then I hated it even more. And 2 years passed like this. Then I hired a coach, a career coach. But the problem was that the career coach couldn't help me because I didn't know what I wanted myself. And this is the crux of what I'm trying to tell you, is we all think we need to have a degree from Stanford, Harvard, Yale. I need to get a job at the coolest company in town. I need to have connections who can give me this kind of a job. But I want to tell you that if you make a plan, you get a mentor, you can actually accomplish pretty much anything. The things that Shruti spoke about my introduction, I want to tell you when, in the first 20 years, I didn't even know what they meant. And this is how we hold ourselves back. Anyways, the second coach didn't work out, and then I just fell into a corporate marketing career. So I went completely from engineering into a corporate marketing career. And I wish I was, I want to say that my path is littered by mistakes I made. So one day I'm sitting at a conference and looking at the VP of our division, marketing VP, talking. And I have to say, I was looking at her and I said, oh, she's really stupid. I can do this much better. And I'm very modest like this about my own accomplishments. And I thought, okay, so how do I get from being a first level manager to a VP of marketing? And I started making a plan. And I thought, okay, these are the mistakes I made previously. This is how I get here. And I thought, okay, 2-3 jobs. I want to go back to startups. I was in a very big company. And so I made this plan, and I actually started executing a plan. I mean, I didn't look at it every week or every month, but I had this plan in my mind. And in the end, instead of taking me 2 or 3 jobs to become a chief marketing officer at startups, it took me 1 job. And that's when I started creating this process on how you can take control of your career and how you become a leader. Whatever you want to change your job, you want to get back into the work field, you want to become a leader, you want to become a startup founder. And I give it away freely. And please do reach out on LinkedIn to me, and I'm happy to send a PDF of the process to you. And one of the parts of this process I realized is that you should say yes to every opportunity. Most of us want to wait. I cannot tell you the number of times I have said it, and I have other women say to me, in 4 years, in 3 years, I'm not ready. You will never be ready, right? And that was my problem. I was never ready. And once I became fearless and somebody said to me, oh, there's this women's leaders organization you should join. And I was like, okay, you think I'm going to be a leader? And she was like, well, it's up to you. And I show up at this, and everyone's a CEO, VP, they're all white women. And I thought to myself, okay, so what can I offer them? And as I started having conversations, I realized the company of other women and the networking of other women is very critical to helping us move forward in our careers. And while we were in this women's leadership organization, and we were complaining about how women founders don't get startup money, the venture capitalists don't fund women, brown women have it harder, blah, blah, blah. And so we were like, okay, why don't we start our own fund, a venture fund? And it's not rocket science. The VCs make it sound like it's rocket science. And I will tell you, so I became a founding LP, limited partner in a $10 million fund. It's tiny, but it's the first fund that we did in the Bay Area. It was oversubscribed by women in 3 months. So I meet this friend of mine, Indian guy, and I'm telling him this is what I'm doing. And he turned to me and he said, you became an LP at a fund? I'm like, okay, so do I only need to go to Harvard, Yale, Stanford to become an LP? It's not that difficult. You need to learn this stuff, and you need to become fearless. And once I became fearless, and I decided, okay, this opportunity comes, I'm going to say yes. It is hard, you feel you're on the edge of that boat and you're going to fall off into the water, but you won't. Because you'll work so much harder, because that's what women do. You say yes to something that you have not prepared for. You know what you're going to do all night, all day for the next 4 days. You're going to prepare, you're going to Google enough stuff that you show up there and you'll be the expert. Trust me on this. And I realized that everything we can learn. What is wrong with us? We are bright women, we aced our exams, we may be, okay, I didn't ace all my exams, honestly, I was very bored with some of my stuff. But the thing is, if you're interested and you want it and you see another woman doing it, go up and ask her. How have you done it? It's okay to say you don't know stuff, right? And that took me this vulnerability, because I like to show up as I am the hero of the story. I know everything. I'm comfortable with talking about all of this stuff. But once you start doing this, women will help you. Women will reach out to you. And this trajectory, this last 10 years of my life, where in this women's leadership organization, we funded this. I've got a startup navigator, growth navigator. We work with deep tech startups. We've done 17 startups. My business partner, she's a woman. We've done 17 startups in 24 months. these startups would reach out to us, and she's a cybersecurity expert, I'm a B2B SaaS expert. And they would reach out and say, oh, we have a biotech company. And first we'd say, oh, we don't know anything about biotech. And then we said, well, okay, let's listen to their story. And then we would say, okay, so we think you have these problems to solve. And in all of this, I realized is that I have to trust myself that I will figure out an answer because I want it badly enough. If you don't want it, you're not going to get it. And that's one of my truths that I realized. I feel that one of the things, maybe I wouldn't have spent so much time in the wilderness if I'd had a woman mentor. But I didn't know there was a thing called women mentors. I would see all these people just, sort of getting promoted, and I'd be like, so how do you do this? It's not a hidden thing. We as women, we must form networks. We must talk to each other. We must give freely. Sometimes I meet women who will be, who are very successful. They believe that there's a ceiling and only one woman can get above the ceiling. I don't operate like that. I think if not me, maybe you could. If I don't get that opportunity, maybe some other woman should take it, right? And this is how I've started operating with this absolute intent and consciousness. I can't even describe how thrilled I am where I'm in my career right now. I just started this new company called Blue Oak Nutraceuticals, and this is the project that my business partner and I and a scientist, we're going to do this for the next 25 years. And hopefully, fingers crossed, startups, only 0.01% startups actually make it. So anyways, we're going to do this. I don't know anything about nutraceuticals. I don't know anything about science, but there is Google Baba, and there is videos, and then there is books you can read, and then you can talk to people and find out stuff, right? I think and I know this for me, I was always limited by my own fears. Be fearless. Really be fearless. And you will be amazed where you reach. And I've given talks on empowering yourself and getting to leadership and the basic steps you have to take. But today I really wanted to talk to you to reset your mindset. And once I reset my mindset, I realized there's nothing that I cannot accomplish. The only thing I can't become is the President of the United States because I was not on here. But other than that, I think I'm not done on my journey. I turned 60 this year. And I am actually not done right now. So, thank you so much.
Let's power down all our pocket-sized distractions, please. We need undivided attention.
Thank you, Sonia. We have our next speaker, Rashmi. Rashmi Chandarai Patna is a VP of Engineering at Salesforce. She joined Salesforce in 2005 as an engineer after working at a startup. She was named as one of the 60 engineering leaders to watch in 2020 by Girl Greek. Her inclination towards mentoring, driving decisions, and customer focus made transition to management, and she is embracing it with zeal and dedication. Welcome, Rashmi.
Hello. Thanks to NRIVA for giving me this opportunity to come here and be in front of many friends and family actually, along with all the esteemed panelists over here. This is absolutely my privilege to be sharing my point of view and my experiences. And thanks to Shruti for even considering me for this opportunity. I think it's in a very small way we are all giving back to the community that has done so much for all of us, right? That's the way I look at it. So the topic that Shruti asked me to talk about is scaling leadership in a Fortune 500 company. I would say leadership can be defined with principles that anybody can kind of follow, right? It doesn't change between a startup and a Fortune 500 company. The principles are the same. However, how do you apply those principles might slightly differ based on the size of the company that you are at, because you need to hone your skills for that role and the job. So let me start off by general leadership principle that I like to follow. I want to think very much like what Sonia suggested. I want to think myself as a leader first, who happens to be a woman, right? There is no different criteria as a woman leader, right? So I want to be a leader who happens to be a woman, and how you see yourself changes with that one frame of how you frame the conversation, right? You are not asking for any favors from anybody. You are not asking for a different criteria for yourself. You are just being a leader, right? That same leadership principle applies to everybody. So let's start with how I want to be a leader, what kind of leader I want to be, right? I hope that gives some pointers, right? The number one is you have to be trustworthy, right? And that trustworthy comes in the way of being credible. It means you know the job you're hired to do and you're taking it seriously to do it. The second is you have to be reliable. It's not just whether you know or have the skills, you have to actually do the job in the time frame you committed to, right? You have to be reliable. And then the third aspect is you have to build networks, connections, because you are not going alone in this journey. It's a collective journey. And the fourth point, and I think it's mostly the neglected point, I would say, it's you have to lower your self-orientation. What do I mean by self-orientation? It's very easy to think, me. Am I good enough? Am I doing this? How many times are you saying I, right? So that's a self-orientation because you're only thinking about yourself. You're not thinking about what value you can bring to the table. You're only thinking about yourself. Again, you're doing it for the job and the company you're in. You're not doing it for yourself. You need to keep reorienting yourself not to be in that, right? So these are like basic principles along with communication and collaboration skills, right? So this applies to everybody as a leader. Now that we have set that kind of baseline, let's talk about how to apply these skills at a big company, right? So imagine yourself on a platform with hundreds and hundreds of people. How do you stand out? But do it in a way that is true to yourself, right? Yeah. Of course, you can do some gimmicks and stand out in a crowd of people, but that's not what it's all about, right? So how do you stand out? I think you need to build your brand, right? What do I mean by building your brand? You have to know how to differentiate yourself. What's that consistent value you're going to bring to the table and never falter. Even if the most hardest times, you should not falter. You should stay true to it. So let me tell a little bit of an example from myself. That happens to be delivering high quality software because obviously I'm in an engineering role. And guess what? Just putting that kind of brand on myself, sometimes it's not going to go smooth. I had to stand up and say no to a project delivery deadline because ultimately the product was not ready and it was not easy because my manager at the time wanted to ship it no matter what, right? It's okay, it's just a few bugs, it's okay, let's go. It's not easy, but if you falter, again, sometimes some decisions are purely out of your control, right? But you have to stand that ground, and that courage comes when you have that value system in place. You have to stay true to yourself. Once I did that, then the next time there was a difficult decision, my SVP said, if Rashmi says yes, it's a go. If she doesn't say yes, it's not going to go. Right? So it's that kind of brand you have to build for yourself. And that takes time to figure out what that is. All basic skill set everybody has to have, right? But that courage comes with the conviction, right? What you believe in, what you're saying, stay true to yourself. right? So that's building your brand of leadership and doing it for the betterment of the company matters, right? So that's one thing I would say will help you stand out amongst a lot of different people who are in the room. Thank you. And I would say the second aspect in all of this is how do you stay true to the challenges that you face as a leader, right? Because everybody does their job, right? We hire smart people in big companies and startup companies as well. How do you stand out? You need to root for a cause that's not your primary job, right? Everybody does their job, right? If you want to stay, there could be a problem in your organization or in a company. You need to go after solving that problem. If it matters to you, there might be other people it matters to as well, right? So lead initiatives that are not your primary job. Once you show a little bit of success, because how do you know if it's even possible to solve, or we have the right people who are passionate? It's not going to come organically. You have to make it happen, right? So I have done a few of those. I would say it was just an idea. Hey, this bothers me a lot. It's a huge developer productivity kind of problem. Let me solve by gathering few people who it matters to as well. Once there is a bit of a momentum, and then the organization sees you're passionate about solving this problem, guess what? The support will eventually come. So don't sit and wait for somebody to hand a problem and give you people and say, okay, go figure out how to solve it. You have to take initiative. So I would say the second most important aspect is like leading initiatives, right? That might or might not be your day job. The third point I would say, it's the last point, but it's not the most obvious point, right? Be patient and be resilient. I have to say this, even your grandest plans, best plans might or might not work because your project might get killed or some different prioritization is going to come across which is going to throw a wrench into your career, your plan. So you have to be flexible, you have to be willing to go for the long run. Many times, I would say, I felt like for 4 or 5 years after even joining Salesforce, I felt like my career is not going anywhere, right? For whatever reason, right? Some were my personal reasons, some were like company, what was happening at that time, it didn't go anywhere. That's what I felt. However, I made sure, irrespective of that, I keep bringing my best, doing the job, having that connection with people, and then ultimately, when things fell in place, right, like they say, luck is you being prepared for the opportunity that get presented to you at that spot. So I think I was prepared. I had gone through that rough patch, but when I was prepared and the opportunities were put front, I grew my career very quickly. So I would say be patient, be resilient. Not everything is going to go your way, and that's how you can keep growing in a big company, right? These concepts apply for every company, but I would say in a big company, these 3 points that I kind of talked about gives you that opportunity to grow yourself. Hope that helps. Thank you.
Thank you, Rashmi. Thank you for your valued inputs. We have some notepads. I would like to, you can all help yourselves. So all these inputs from you all, you can all take down the notes there. So going on to our next panelist, Ina Sarkar. Ina Sarkar is the founder of Women's Now TV. With over 30 years of experience in media, she has successfully taken the diaspora forward with her dedication in providing a platform where individuals can celebrate their identities. She started the first South Asian talk show to showcase the talent of the community. She continues to inspire several women to flourish, grow and become leaders in their own field. Today, Women Now TV is known for its outstanding events that celebrate every aspect of the Indian community and culture. Welcome, ma'am.
Because I use my hands a lot, I can move everywhere. So thank you so much. I'm sorry? Oh, okay. Technical problems, okay. So thank you very much, Rudy, for calling me to this event. I'm really excited because this is my most favorite topic. How can women excel? And I think I'm supposed to talk about what I would like to see change in future that would help women excel in their work field or any field. And I was just talking to a few people before we started talking here. I actually want to see more men in the audience than women. Do we have that? Do you think we have a 50-50 or a little bit more men in the audience than women? I think we have a lot of men because that excites me, because awareness for women empowerment needs to start with men. And that is what I want to emphasize today. It is the men who need to be here to know what is stopping women from excelling. For example, if you look back a month from now, a backwards month, each of you men over here, if you can list out what you did or you didn't do to your mother, your daughter, your wife, or a woman co-worker, that did not help them excel. I mean, write down maybe some things that you did or that you didn't. Because I feel that when women have allies who lie in men, in helping them excel, then the world is open to all of us. The problem today is that we do not realize that women are already empowered. We do not need to talk to women about women empowerment as much as we need to talk to men about it. Why? Because women have the strength, the core strength, the power, they have the talent, they have everything they need to excel, right? There was a study by Claudia Golding that said that why she actually dedicated her entire life on understanding why women fail in achieving what they have been said to or what they were meant to. And it all boiled down to that one element that when women either they get married or they have children, their priorities shift from their career to their home, which is great because you are then doing a great job at home. But afterwards, when they actually go back to the workforce, then they're not able to compete with men because they have something called an imposter syndrome. How many of you know what is an imposter syndrome? A lot of women have that. And that is what stops them from coming up forward, talking about pick me, raise me, and I am capable of what I can do. I'm capable in my job, and I need to be recognized. So I would like to say that these two elements are very important for a woman to understand that they are already empowered. Number one, they only need allies like men to help them excel in their career, grow at home, grow at workforce. There are still a lot of societal issues that are roadblocks as well. The first part was the individual issues that I talked about. The second part is the societal issues. There is a lot of bullying that happens at workforce for which women feel very ashamed to be like either dressing up well because the men folk are talking about how women look at work. You look good walk into a boardroom, you are being talked about as, oh, she was dressed up like that, she was dressed up the other way. So unconscious bullying happens at workforce, and I'm sure some of our women panelists here would have experienced that. A man and a man go out after work to have a drink, it's great, they're bonding. A woman and a man go out for drinking after work, they are having something. Right? So those small things need to change at workforce, and that, I mean, actually is about equality. How do you treat a man and a woman equal at workplace? Equality does not mean that, you know, they are having, I mean, even if you talk about equal pay, okay, we may reach one day, but it's just not about equal pay. It's about treating men and women equally. That needs to happen at workplace. There's a lot of diversity, and when you ask me what change I want to see, I'm really happy about seeing diversity at workplace, because a lot of companies do encourage women hiring, and I'm really excited about seeing more and more change in that. But yet, there's only 50% of the women in the world who work, 80% of men work, 50% of women work. So the 30% gap is actually the gap which needs to be covered, right? So how do we do that? So some of the things that you talked about and Rashmi talked about is about how women will have to find their true, authentic career and accomplish their goals. Be very authentic. All women should know that there is something they have in them which is far better than somebody else. I mean, you talked about how we worry about how we speak, how we look, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, you have something that you know which is better than somebody else. So find that. Be authentic in finding your own calling. Be authentic in finding what resonates with you. Be authentic in finding your own vision. And do not shy away from reaching that goal. Because your own talent, your own capability is your education, your own support system to take you to that level what you want to achieve. I became the first women TV host, an ethnic person, brown skin, with not American accent. I became a TV host for a mainstream channel. I couldn't imagine doing that, but I stayed authentic. I'm not going to change my accent. I'm not going to change the way I speak. I'm not going to change the fact that I don't know a lot of things about the technology topics that I was talking about, or the medical topics that I was talking about. I'm going to come from a place of learning. When I'm talking to people, I want to learn. So I was authentic to what I knew and what I did not know. So that helped me. So staying authentic to yourself, staying true to yourself, and then understanding your own calling, and then helping your goals get achieved by that particular quality that you have. That is a very important thing. And I will end with that, and I want to also say thank you once again to the organization and Rashmi for bringing me here today. I love talking to men and women about women empowerment, and next time I hope I see more men out here.
Thank you, Inga. How many of you all know that NRIVA is supporting women in leadership in each of the chapters? We have 55 chapters, and in each chapter we have women in leadership. And thank you, President Pandri Garu, for having women in leadership and also women in executive team. And would like to see all women here to support that group and be part of that group. Our last speaker, Shruti Goli. Shruti Goli is an inspiring female leader. She was born and raised here in Silicon Valley, went to all girls high school, then pursued CS in a male-dominated major. She went on to a product manager at Microsoft. Outside work hours, she bootstrapped her product analytics company and eventually 1.5 year. 1.5 year later, she sold the company to usability testing company in the market, Trumata. She was 24 years old when she did this. That's why she's my favorite. Then she served as a chief product officer. She continues to inspire female founders through talks at Women Impact Tech and 2 of the largest product and UX conferences. Shruti has been inspiring, impacting and mentoring women throughout her life and her career. She's also going to be launching a podcast soon called Startup Girl to provide a toolkit to any female in the world to learn more about building their own company. I welcome Shruti Goli here.
Hey everyone, and thank you for the intro. I think you learned a little bit about me now through that, so thank you for that. And she's correct 100%. I started, after going through such an intense journey, I started sharing my story with other women, and after the conference I would see so many women who literally came up to me. They said, I drove 1 hour to come and watch you speak, and you're so inspiring. And I'm hoping I'm not setting the bar now for this, but it really made me realize that not enough women are confident to put themselves out there yet, and I feel like there's so much room to grow. And there's two stats I want to talk about, and really I want it to sit in everyone's minds. In the Catalyst, in the 2020 article that they released, they said that 26.5% of the senior executive roles in these IT companies and Fortune 500 companies are women. Only 26.5%. And at the same token, for venture-backed companies, only 2% were female founders, which is astonishing, honestly. And so just growing up here in the Bay Area, I always knew I wanted to be a startup founder, and I really had that opportunity to go full force with that. And back in college, I met one of my best friends, Karthik, and he and I got together after we graduated, and we were like, let's just start building, right? Let's see what happens. And eventually we got to sell our company, which is amazing. But when I reflect back on that journey, there's a few reasons why I feel like I was successful, honestly, like as a female founded funder, and part of that being that 2%. So one, I think, is the confidence game. I think plenty of women here, not in general, they often stop themselves from speaking out loud, right? They're afraid of failing. They're afraid of speaking up and actually voicing out their opinion in the off chance that they might be wrong. But that's really, I'm here to encourage you all to not be afraid of failure, right? I failed numerous times through building a startup. I failed almost 5 times. And what I realized is that confidence is an absolute key in order to be able to take yourself to the next level. I think the other thing that I want to echo that I think was very important is having Karthik by my side and observing Karthik. It takes one part for me to be super self-aware and know my strengths and my weaknesses. The other part is watching Karthik. We both studied computer science at the same university, and when I noticed when we were applying for jobs or when we were working together, people took him a lot more seriously than me. And I asked myself, why is that happening? Why we're having a conversation with 2 people. Why are you looking at Karthik and not me? And so I really started to question myself, and actually I realized I'm not the problem, right? It's really the fact that there is this bias towards male, like it's a male-dominated industry. There's this insane bias towards males. And also another thing is, I actually had the opportunity for Karthik to come and support me. So he would often in the room be like, and listen, like he would point towards me, he would give me attention, and he would bring me towards the room. And so I often realized that I had these male advocates without even knowing. And so that's also what I want to encourage here today, to build that support system of having males around you as well who are able to change the tune, right? I think women can really have it all. If you want to be a mom and you want to start a company, you can do it all, right? And that's what I'm here to talk about, because I innately believe that for myself, and I want to continue encouraging women to do that as well. I think the other thing to think about is being a woman in tech, like there's only so few of us, and so I often encourage everyone to surround themselves by other female founders as well, and that's been a huge difference for me. So even when I was pitching to investors and talking to investors, I found that women often said, like, every no is one step closer to a yes, right? So I'd walk away from a room and I would get this, like, potentially negative feedback, or I'd get a no from an investor, and I'd be like, okay, what do I do? And I'd see similarly, Karthik would be in the same room, and they would be giving him attention and looking at him and understanding what he would say. And the feedback that I got from these women is really to, like, be confident when you're speaking. Say what you believe and stand your ground. And that's really what I really believe is what we should be doing. So yeah, with that, I really, really appreciate you guys letting me speak today, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Shri.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Soumya Shivashankar. I'm working with Shruti on the Women Leadership track. I'm still in awe with all the inspiring motivational talks that you all have given here, and I hope you're all having a good time. So we're just going to ask a few questions, a question each, and then we'll open it up to the audience for some Q&A. Okay.
Keep the mic.
Oh, yeah. So question to you, Soumya. What are the most effective ways to counteract the negative stereotypes of feminism, especially in the workplace?
I'm so glad you asked me that. Will you the mic?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll stand up.
So I think compared to a lot of women here, I'm probably much older. I think in retrospect, I think when I think about how I behaved in my early jobs, I never spoke up. I worked at a company where I would be the only woman and there were 14 men. And the first time the manager made a sexual joke, first of all, I didn't understand all of it. Everyone started laughing. And I was just frozen. And I realized I was not confident. I didn't understand what I believed in, even though I've been a fierce feminist since I was 14. And I think the way you deal with anti-women behavior, the kind of dissing that people do, that, I think, you've mentioned some parts of it, and I definitely mentioned some parts of that, is actually to ignore the strength and the core of you. You can't speak up if you're not confident. You can't speak up if you don't know your beliefs. I would never put up with that kind of behavior now, and you can ask somebody. But if I'm not confident, then for me to question somebody is pretty impossible. And it's done in subtle ways, and I really recommend everyone to be educated about if somebody is mansplaining you, somebody's talking over you, you've not finished and somebody else starts talking, and you don't need to be rude, you don't need to be aggressive, you don't need to be combative. All you need to do is ask for an explanation. But I wasn't confident, so all this stuff happened around me, and I'd be like, dang, I should have said something, but what, right? And I think we are taught to be nice. Women should be nice, women should be kind, women should be sweet. Well, there's a place to be nice and kind and sweet, and there's a place not to be kind and sweet and this thing. And I encourage, I've had men stand up for me, which has actually made me more tormented. That what the hell, how come I didn't speak up? I was 24, but that's all another side of the story. And I was an immigrant, etc., etc. But I think for us to complain about this behavior, I truly have reached this stage in my life is to say, hey, you can't complain about it, you've got to take care of it. You can make an ally, you can ask your co-worker, you can ask your person standing next to you and say, hey, do you think that was appropriate? And then have a conversation about it. But I think we need to take charge. We need to stand up and we need to say this is not appropriate. Anyways, that was a long answer. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, question to you, Ina. What was the most rewarding aspect of your role?
Do you want a long answer or a short answer? Okay, so to answer her question, I wanted to talk a little bit about a recent event that I had. This was last month. It was a 3-day event. We had initially planned the event at the History Park in San Jose, and then we moved it to Independence High School. The reason being that a month before the event, the facility decided to increase the parking fee from $6 to $10. And I knew my very favorite Indian value for money conscious people are going to come and complain to me about that. It's going to be a nightmare because I had advertised it for $6 and they had suddenly hiked it up to 10 without any intimation before. And I tried to negotiate. I went to the city, I went to the mayor, I went to all the people to say, hey, you cannot just increase the parking fee from 6 to 10. It's a 3-day event. People will be coming and going. If they come twice, it's $20. They're going to complain. They didn't budge. So less than a month, I have to now find another location. It was truly a nightmare, a very, very intense time. And we luckily, by God's grace, found another location. But it came with a lot of restrictions. So the restrictions were like, they'll give me the venue at 5 p.m. and I have to finish setting up, which means booth, food, audio, stage, decoration, lighting, all of that in 2 hours. Imagine it was like impossible. And I'm like, how am I going to do this? Okay, fine, but we'll have to do it. So I deployed an army. It was the toughest period of my life. And throughout that month, I kept thinking to myself, why am I doing this? This is an event. Why, I'm tearing myself apart for this. The 3-day event started. Everybody leaving the event came up to me and said how happy they were, how joyous they felt, how much gratitude towards, the organization who put the event together. And I kept thinking to myself that this is why I do this. Thousands of people came, thousands of people left with happiness, thousands of people would, enjoyed dancing, singing, eating, praying at this particular event. Most of them I don't even know. So the joy in your heart that you feel when you are able to bring happiness to someone else that you don't even know is the reward that is unparalleled. Nothing can compete with that. So, to answer your question in short, it's the happiness that you can bring to someone else's life that makes you most happy.
Thank you so much, Reena. Question to you, Shruti. So who was someone who influenced you in your career and has helped shape you into the person you are today?
Karthik might be it. No, actually it's my mom. And my mom's there actually. So just growing up, and watching her, she's always been in extremely high roles in the tech industry. And I actually didn't know that the bar was set so high for me. I always thought, okay, this is the minimum that I can do. And so she's been an inspiration for me time and time to give me advice on how to accelerate my career, who should I talk to, how can I network, just these fundamental skills in order for me to grow and achieve my goals as well. Yeah.
Thank you. And the last question for Rashmi. What 3 things would you like to accomplish this year?
Tough one. I think for me, I would consider myself to be really successful by end of next year. We would have accomplished by grooming and growing the leadership team that I have to operate at that next level, right? I'm a huge TV and movie buff, just so you know. Hope some of you have watched Succession. I don't want that disaster to be happening. I want to find successor for my role. I would consider that's a big success if without me being present, my people, my org can thrive and really grow, right? So I consider that to be a really key element for us to be successful. That's one aspect. The second is investing in myself, my own leadership skills. How do I learn and be better? That's a journey I already started this current year. It's not done like anything. It needs to be continued. So that's the investment. I've signed up for many trainings, coaching sessions, so on and so forth. That helps me rethink my approach of how to be a better leader. Right, that journey never stops, so I will continue on that. And the last but not least is to have fun while you are going on this ride. There is no point if you're not having fun, right? So have fun and build your career. That's what it's all about.
Thank you, Rashmi. And let's give a round of applause to our speakers. And now we're going to open it up to the audience to ask some questions. So, raise your hands and then we'll choose.
No, I can talk loud, no problem. So I have a couple of patients.
Do you want to Forward.
Good evening, good afternoon to everybody. You're all expert in so many ways. I'm a doctor myself. I have a couple of patients always tell me they're very intelligent husband, but these housewives are extremely aggressive. And how to tackle the problem? If we tackle it, he is afraid about the divorce. So he wants to make the family happy. What is your recommendation for him?
Who wants to take to answer that?
I think you are very blessed that you understood the problem, first of all. So to have an aggressive wife at home is the best thing that you can ask for. Because that's all we are trying to accomplish here, how to make women aggressive, because they are not.
So I'm wondering, aggressiveness and assertiveness on the same scale. So I'm wondering if they're misreading it. The wife is assertive, but he's not used to perhaps of hearing assertiveness from the wife. Maybe he has to recalibrate his thinking between aggression and assertiveness.
Any more questions?
I have a question for Rashmi.
Oh, can you come forward?
A lot of us were talking about how men can support, what is it that we can do to be successful. I used to think the same way when I wasn't a leader. Now I have gotten into leadership and I have a lot of women reporting to me, and I see it's not just men supporting women, but a lot of times I see women not having that confidence and courage to step up and expecting someone else need to tell them and give them the push. So as a leader, what are the few things that you have done to coach and encourage these women reportees that you have to actually inculcate that skill? Because I feel like the moment we are giving opportunity to other people to coach, encourage, sponsor, that means we are not depending on our results, right? So I'm trying that, but it is taking a lot of effort for me to inculcate that themselves. So what are the few things, Rashmi, that you have done in your organization?
Thank you so much for this wonderful question. It's such a relevant thing, right? You can only help people who want to help themselves.
Exactly.
Right? That's the fundamental principle here. I think it comes with the culture that you're going to build around yourself, right? I think building culture is not a one day worth of work, so it's going to be a constant struggle to build that kind of culture. I'm proud to say my org is 30% women. It's still not the goal I want. I want a 35% at least as a target for next year to have women. But it's going to take, I think you have to lead by example. They need to see people who have failed but have thrived and grown, right? So you need to have forums like this and many others where they see themselves, right? It might not match, it's not about that exactly, but they have seen, hey, here is what they're doing, here is how they're standing up for themselves, here is how they're bringing their point of view. Sometimes it's not all about getting support from others, right? I have never felt like I needed only women mentors, right? Mentor is mentor. You appreciate something in somebody, go learn that from them. You're not going to find a person who's going to meet all your needs, right? So you can have 10 mentors, 20 mentors, who knows, right? So when they see and you respond with certain aspects, by standing up, by having that courage, having the data to back up your points, right? That's going to help you stand up when you are going against the current and trying to stand up for yourself. So these are small steps that you can take. But you have to lead by example. You have to encourage women to take on that stretch project or a stretch role that they might not be comfortable with, but you need to provide that organizational support. That's what others have done for me, and I hope I can continue doing that. And we are going to take this journey one step at a time, and then make that leaps and bounds kind of adjustment. But that's a great question. Thank you.
When I still worked in tech as a manager, CMO, so a practical thing, and thank you so much. If you don't lead by example, they're not going to do it, right? If you should. But I also did one part which was personal development. So I made everyone establish really aggressive personal development goals every quarter. And said, how are you going to do this? You're going to take an outside class on leadership. Are you going to read books? Are you going to go to this conference? Are you going to go to a webinar? And it's like almost like you have to buttress them. They are willing, but they don't know where to go. So I'll tell you a funny example. I had this young woman working for me, and I said, okay, so we're going to talk about your performance review, and now you're going to negotiate a raise. And she started sweating, and she said, no, whatever you give me, I'll take. I said, no, you go to the lunchroom, you get a glass of water, and you're going to negotiate with me. So I did a lot of modeling with women, especially younger women, because they don't have that experience or confidence, right? And she'd be like, no, Sonia, please just give me the raise. I said, no, you're not going to get a raise. You have to negotiate with me. We're going to pretend I don't like you, you don't like me. But it took lessons, because this is one of the issues, right? Because we are not born knowing these skills. We want them, but we have to acquire them. But be brutal with them, is what I would say. Yeah.
I think the other thing that's been beneficial for me, like when I first joined even Microsoft, I was like, oh my God, I'm fresh out of college and I see these women leaders super high up, and I'm like, how did I get there, right? That's the first question that I ask. And what I found powerful is when women are extremely vulnerable with people who are younger and are willing to share their mistakes and the hardships that they went through to get to where they are, because that makes it relatable. Because on the other side of the token, like, yeah, how do I ask for promotion? How do I ask for, how do I negotiate for something? None of these skills are skills that are taught in college, right? These types of things. And so we need to be able to educate through sharing the mistakes that you also went through, I think.
Thank you. I think we have time for one last question.
Sonia, I think you have spoken about finding a mentor and then how a mentor can actually help you shape yourself. So what's the key factors that you need to look for a mentor or a sponsor?
Really fantastic question. I think first, to me, is to know that you need a mentor. A mentor is not just a mentor. You need to know what you need. Where are you stuck? And then you need to find people and find out, do you need a coach? And the coaching is a very big deal nowadays. And so side note on the coach thing, so your company doesn't pay for it, invest in yourself. When I worked still in my various tracks, if my company didn't pay for a conference, I paid for it myself. I took a vacation day and I went. I feel we don't invest enough in ourselves to develop ourselves professionally. So invest in yourself. So figure out, do you need a mentor? Do you need a coach? Ask people, ask senior people. You could ask somebody and first have a, you can't go and say to them in the first meeting, hey, can you be my mentor? But maybe ask a senior woman, man, anyone in the company, if you like how they behave, what kind of a leader they are, have coffee with them. Just say, I'd like to know how you got here. And then if that person is receptive and you are asking the right questions, they may say, oh, I'm happy to help you. And that's a mentor. It's not like you can get a checklist and then go and say to somebody, hey, be my mentor. It has to be a personality fix. Many times I find that we are so anxious about getting something that we don't understand that you have to build a little relationship. But you can, absolutely. I encourage you to really think about what you need, what you're stuck with. A specific ask is a really good thing.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to add to what she said. We are talking in a tech conference, so she's referring to mentors at work. But I wanted to say that all of us need to find people who inspire us. And they need not be from our field, and they need not be from our workplace or doing the same job. But there are people that you will see who inspire us, and all of us need to incorporate a bit of spirituality in our lives. So when you talk to somebody who inspires you, maybe they will say something or do something from which you can draw energy, draw inspiration, and then excel. I think I have personally faced that a lot. People I follow on blogs, on talks, they are not from my field, but just the simple things they talk during their speeches, I take inspiration from that, and that helps me a lot.
And another thing that I do is when I was building my vast set of network of mentors is I messaged hundreds of people on LinkedIn, to your point. Who inspires me? I find those people, research their stories, and I ask them for 15 minutes of their time. Most people will say no, right, on LinkedIn, but the people that do, get on those 15 minutes and come prepared with 3 specific questions about them personally. And that just establishes a personal connection with them, and people tend to remember you. And that's how you open the door, right? And then I get to know people really personally. I'm like, tell me your story. Forget about what you do at like Microsoft, forget about what you do at whatever company it is. Tell me about you. And just even remembering those facts about those people will honestly establish a deeper and deeper relationship slowly. And eventually, to Sonia's point, you can get to that point where you're like, hey, this is where I need help. Can you help me? I think you're a good fit for me. And I've honestly never got a no from those set of people. So it really works.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving this phenomenal well round of applause. I'd like to welcome to the stage our NRIVA President, Srimas Pandiri Garu, VSF President Prashant Garu, VSF Founder Rao Garu, Sunita Rajpalli, our NRIVA BOT, Prasanna Sonta,
Hey, good afternoon everyone. All these wonderful 4 ladies here has really made an amazing job today. Thank you for sharing your experiences. Even though it is women empowerment and women related, this reflects even for men also. The experiences what you have shared. If you just remove women with men, it is the same, right? The same way, the social causes and anything, when the last question, somebody was asking about mentoring and all that stuff, we do get mentoring unknowingly or knowingly from so many sources. Sometimes it may be wife, sometimes it may be your children, sometimes it may be your friends. So many things can happen to all of us, right? That's what, where do you take that cue is very important, and reflect on it. And first thing is, what are we thinking about? What is the problem we are trying to solve? That itself will resolve so many issues. Sometimes it may be when you take a jog, sometimes when you sleep, sometimes when you go something, these things. But really amazing job, all these 4 wonderful women. Let's give another round of applause for them. Thank you, Soumya, and thank you, Shruti, for moderating. It's an awesome initiative. All the best for all of you, and all the best for all these people here. Thank you all.
You know what? I think these wonderful women deserves a standing ovation. Yes, 100%. And one other request. One request on behalf of NRIVA leadership. If you happen to be a boss or an executive or a C-level or a decision maker in your workplace, after listening to this wonderful women, I feel that we need to hire more women in your executive leadership and in your decision makings. Thank you very much. Rao garu, please. Sunita garu, please. Prasanna garu. I also request Hari Ekkali. Please come onto the dais. I also request Dr. Venu garu. Please give the certificate of appreciation to this wonderful woman. This is the first time in the history of NRIVA, we are also having a woman in our decision making actually. So, and yes. We also came up with a woman in executive leadership program.
But everyone sign up, please. Buy your tickets.
Close.
And I also
Close.
thank you. Please be seated. And also I request all the speakers today to come and join our 7th Global Convention, which is going to happen in July, long weekend. So that's one request to all of you guys here.
1 minute.
Thank you for everybody for joining today once again.
That was a great session, but also a very intense one. So let's take a 10 minutes break and we'll assemble back here by 2:30. We have a very interesting session, conservative investment in crypto. I know conservative and crypto are opposite ends of the spectrum, and that's why it makes very interesting talk. So please assemble back here at 2:30. Thank you.